Tell me a story. Something we've all said or heard in our lives. Stories bring us together around the campfire. Storytelling has earned its place as the most important tradition humans possess. The most important reason for this being that every story contains a lesson. Lessons to love, to forgive, to be just, and to strive for better than we have. They empower us, they lead us, they comfort us. Born in Alberta, raised in the backcountry, fishing, hunting, nature, the wild, all run thick in my blood. Growing up a Canadian boy, I had a similar dream to most other boys my age here, to make the NHL. When that dream was yanked from beneath my feet, how could I carry on? My story is full of hope, inspiration, joy, heartbreak, heartache, and resiliency. My name is Dana Lattery. I'm a fly fishing guide in southern Alberta, an ex-professional hockey player, and a storyteller at heart. Having spent the past decade guiding thousands of fly fishermen from all over the world, I've heard so many stories that paralleled mine. Stories of pain, brokenness, tragedy, from all different walks of life. The more time I spend with them, the more I realize that we all shared one common thread. Fly fishing saved our lives. Grab your favorite drink and join me on this journey as our story begins. Welcome back to another episode of Fly Fishing Saves Lives. I am your host, Dana Lattery, and I am here today with a very special friend, and what we'll call him on the show as a guest, Mr. Ted Diedrich. Ted, say hello to everybody.
Hello, everybody.
See, we had to take a first take because I just felt you weren't quite yourself. So I screwed things up just so we could redo it and you could feel a little more comfortable, because I will get you to the stage today where I see you most often, and that is an 8 to 10 hour day on the river. Neither of us stop talking. Do you think that's possible?
What, for us to stop talking?
No, for us to not stop talking.
Oh.
For you to feel comfortable enough with a microphone in your face that you can just be Ted outside of the digital therapy room.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll get you there. So, for everybody listening, tell us a little bit about Ted, and let's start with where you from.
I was born in the East Kootenays in Kimberley, BC, just across the mountains from southern Alberta.
And go ahead.
And when I was 8, my dad got transferred to Trail, and so I grew up in Rossland, home of Nancy Green.
Nancy Green, 88 Olympics superstar in Calgary. Is that true?
No, she was before 88.
Oh, yeah.
68.
She was born in 38.
Yeah,
Or
she's
something.
Yeah, no, she'd done her Grenoble, France is where she won her medal.
Nice. So Nancy Green, eh?
Yeah.
What else is famous for that area, Trail / Roslyn?
Oh, well, Rossland, not so much. Trail, mainly the size of the Kamloops operation there, processing lead, manufacturing fertilizer, whatnot.
So that sounds like very dangerous things to be making in such a trout hotbed.
Well, when I first moved there, it wasn't so much a trout hotbed because Kamloops had sort of played fast and loose with emissions from the plant and into the air. So first time I saw the Columbia River around trail, there was no vegetation on any of the hills. It was just rock.
Really?
Yeah, the pollution that was coming out of the stacks there had denuded the valley for miles either side of trail.
So, I mean, now it's flourishing, is it not? The Columbia River?
When Kaminko kind of got called out about their practices, and they went, well, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it right. And they went all out. Now, that valley is gorgeous, and the Columbia River has some of the nicest trout fishing in the province. Easy 10-pound to 15-pound rainbows.
But it's a big river, though, is it not? So what I've heard and have seen some videos and just some word of mouth is that it is a little more difficult to fish given the size of it.
I think what it is actually it's quite, in my mind, having done a few trips with you, it's like fishing the Bow River. If you know if you've learned the river, the number of times that my nephew Sean and I have gone, and you've gone, okay, guys, get the indicators over there. We're going to go over a little light stuff, and you'll see a deep pool, and one of you will get a bite. And we're right there, and you can see the indicator go over top of the deep pool, and one of us gets a bite. Fishing the Columbia is like that. You go,
gotta know where to go.
But if you know where to go, I've seen videos of people indicator fishing on this wide, big river, and they're sitting in a back eddy. It's like they're fishing. Where they're fishing is about the width of the bow. Yeah, and they're getting big fish.
Yeah, I've heard that. I think there's a big caddis hatch there that I've heard about.
And when people talk about ant hatches, and they say, "Oh, an ant hatch."
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
they get an ant hatch there that there'll be 3 feet of ant corpses along the shore.
Really?
That they tried to fly across the river and didn't make it. It's ugly, to be honest.
Yeah, I actually saw a video on that. How insane that flying ant hatch is, and well, what's interesting about your story is that it appears that it was a decimated ecosystem, and then through some conservation efforts, it is flourishing to be what it is today.
Well, and the people in the area were lucky in the fact that upriver of trail, there was no horrible industry. So there was stock in the river that once the river was cleaned up,
they
could fill it, bring it in and fill it. Interesting thing about just downstream a trail at Castlegar, that's where the Columbia and the Kootenay River comes in there.
Okay.
They have a flourishing walleye fishery there too.
In the rivers.
In the rivers. There's so many walleye in there. The limit is 15 fish a day.
Jeez, per person, eh?
Per person.
So when you lived there, did you fish it or?
Nope.
No.
It's like when I lived in Rossland, I didn't ski either.
Yeah. So Nancy Green was just a dream.
Well, I watched her on TV and whatnot, but I played hockey.
Oh, okay. Well, now we're getting somewhere. So, how old are you now? If you want to, I know we're never supposed to ask someone their age, but I think that'll help us root this Columbia River system recovery story.
I'll be 75 this year.
75. Well, it would be 76 if I had my way, because
I know
I tried to up your birthday one year.
You did.
But anyways, you're back. So you're 75 this year. Okay.
Correct.
So what years 19 what? Were you kind of living in that Fernie Trail Roslyn area?
1959 to 69 when I graduated and came down to Vancouver to go to university.
Okay, so let's talk about your hockey career a little bit.
Yeah.
What position did you play?
Left wing.
What kind of hockey player were you?
I was actually scouted one year by the Detroit Red Wings.
Okay.
And my dad got a hold of the guy and sort of said, what are you going to tell him? And they basically said he has great skating and good goal sense, but his hands are like bricks. He couldn't stick handle past a corpse.
All right. So your pucks you played with were square at the end of the game.
Oh, it was like it was so grim. The guy goes, he'll never play professional hockey.
So did you think of going into figure skating?
No.
I mean, they don't have to handle pucks there at all. You just have to skate.
Yeah, but when your hands are like bricks, you can't be flinging those in any round.
So
I played hockey because I liked it.
Yeah. So the hockey career was short lived.
Yeah, grade 12, and that was it. I was done.
Huh. What were the name? Like, did you play for Trail or was
I played for the Rossland Warriors.
Rossland Warriors.
Yeah.
Maybe there'll be some people listening that also have some alumni roots set up in Rossland, and you'll be connecting with some old friends, some old line mates.
Well, it's kind of, I was looking at a picture that taken one, oh God, I would have been about 12, 13 years old. And I looked at the picture and I went, Dad. Oh, traffic accidents were, the year I graduated, there was a traffic accident. 5 guys and 3 girls from my graduating class were killed in an accident.
Wow. And how many people were in your graduating class?
About 60. So
That's
we
crazy.
had high attrition.
Huh. So when you graduated and the Detroit Red Wings certified your rock mitts were not going to help you in your NHL career, you decided to move to Vancouver, you said, and pursue an education.
Yeah, I came down to Vancouver to go to UBC.
Okay, and what brought you there?
There were 2 decent universities in BC at the time, UVic in Victoria and UBC in Vancouver. UBC just sort of best on the West Coast, so if you were going to go anywhere, you had to go there.
And so what were you wanting to take that took you there?
My father was convinced I should become a doctor.
Okay. And with those magical hands, a surgeon was probably more up your alley.
Yeah, it wasn't in the... Hey, you could still be a surgeon. You just didn't stick handle around it.
Yeah, you just cut limbs off.
Yeah. No, I actually have a honors physiology degree. But when I finished that year, the only difference between that year and the first year of medicine is we didn't have an anatomy class. And I went, I don't want to do this. So I went to work.
So it was 1 year and you were...
Oh, no, I did my 4. Okay. I have a bachelor's in honors physiology.
Honors physiology. Explain that for me.
Honor degree, obviously high level.
Yeah, like
physiology, study of the human body.
Okay, and so what was the goal with that?
That was, like I said, same as first year medicine.
So that was that. So your dad wanted you to do that, and you were going to do that.
I was, until I had done basically the first year of medicine, except for the anatomy, and I went, I don't want to do this.
Not for me.
Not for me. So I went out and got a job.
So
one of many.
Yeah. So let's walk through some of those because I do have backstory. I have heard a lot of stories, but I have not heard 74 years worth of stories. So who knows? We might uncover some fun news stories here. And I did not know that that's what you took in university. And so that's cool. Now you've left university to work. And what was the drivers and why and where did you start working?
Well, when I finished university, I was 22 years old. And I was still young and stupid and single. So while I was at university, I had joined the karate club on campus. And one of the guys there had a job at a nightclub downtown as a doorman. He said, they're looking for a doorman. Do you want that? Sure. So I went to work as a doorman at one of the popular nightclubs. And then it seemed every night as everybody was leaving, they'd be going, oh, there's a party at Bob's place. I don't know where Bob's is. Oh, it's here. And I'd then go to a party. It was definitely not good for my sleeping, but it was a very social time.
Good for your development of your social life. So
Correct.
So the bar was the place. You left school.
Yeah.
What was your dad's reaction to that?
He was thrilled with my decision.
Okay. Sounds some sarcasm there.
Yeah, no kidding. he was unhappy is the only word.
Yeah.
You know. But hey, I looked at it and just went, this ain't for me.
Yeah.
So while I was working as a doorman, a guy I met said, oh, my boss is looking for somebody to work in landscaping. So I thought, well, 2 jobs is better than one. So I started landscaping.
Well, especially for the sleep.
Yeah. Well, no, it actually kind of cut into my sleep.
That's my point.
Yeah, but it was definitely good for the money.
Yeah.
So I did that.
So let's go into the landscaping because that's where I know some fun stories exist. And what exactly did you do in the landscaping?
Well, I didn't do a lot of planting stuff. I was the tree guy. I pruned trees. I clipped hedges. One of the things I eventually learned to do was I climbed big trees in spurs and belts and pruned them, took them down, up and down 40, 45, 50-foot trees all day, every day.
And so you were a physical specimen.
Well, my wife used to talk to people. She says, when I married Ted, he had a 42-inch chest and a 29-inch waist. And now he has a 42-inch waist and a 29-inch chest.
Well, that's okay. You were just reallocating the real estate.
I just flipped that sucker upside down. But
so in your tree climbing, I think is what you told me.
Yep.
How long did you do that for?
About 8 years.
Okay. And did you still bartend or door attend?
No, that block got bought up and leveled and turned into commercial on the bottom floor and a high rise above it.
Okay.
So, and when you're 32, 33, staying out till 4 o'clock in the morning begins to lose a little bit of its glamour.
Okay, so now in the story, you're about 32, 33.
Yeah.
And you're still climbing trees. And tell me what was the most important lesson you learned from both of those jobs?
The most important lesson I learned from being a doorman was to de-escalate the situation. Don't go, I know this and I know that and I can whoop your butt. Because you might win, but somebody's going to get hurt. So best talk your way out of it rather than fight your way out of it. That was my main lesson there. And climbing trees, my main lesson I learned was in the safety rope, put a knot on the end so that you're not watching the rope go up the tree
with you going down.
Without you not. Because I saw the guy that trained me do that one day. He didn't put the knot in. Yeah. Lucky for him, he hit a sizable branch on the way down and was able to grab it. But that was a valuable lesson to me.
And how could that lesson relate to life?
Always have your safety equipment working.
In life, just like your anchor rope.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you're a strapping, what was your chest size? 42 and a 29-inch waist.
Yeah.
Single.
I was still single then, getting close. I got married when I was 36.
Okay, and so were you tree climbing when you met your wife, or how did that work?
No, I was at the curling rink.
Okay.
I wasn't curling that particular night. She was, but I was out slightly misbehaving with her youngest brother. Okay. And he said, let's go to the curling club. And I went, why would I go to a curling club? And he goes, oh, because they have dollar highballs. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. You know, a dollar highball in those days was pretty decent pricing. So anyway, that's where I met my wife, at the curling rink.
All right, and we're going to come back to that. But let's talk, you're in the Vancouver area still at this story. Obviously, you're not playing hockey, fishing, hunting.
Nope.
Still not a part of your life yet.
Well, it was like all of the fishing and hunting I did before I went to university. When I got down to Vancouver, it was like being in the middle of a desert as far as the outdoor activities that I enjoyed. It was, you know, like you still had it in your brain that you wanted to do something, but, you know, going downtown Vancouver with a fishing rod just wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
So I was, how old would I have been? I was about 38. Happened to, almost like how I met you. I was at a social event and some guy, I was hearing a conversation behind me about some guys who had gone up to Squamish for pink salmon. So I turned around and asked some questions, and one thing led to another, and I started fishing again.
So the two greatest things in your life appear to happen or show up around the same time, your wife and fishing.
Well, I'd always done a lot of fishing when I was younger because, but very small stream fishing, you know, like on my bike. And later when I got my driver's license, you know, like there was half a dozen, I won't say, let's say small to medium creeks that I'd go and catch a few fish and bring them home for dinner.
Oh, yeah.
But when I got down to Vancouver, you look at, here's the Pacific Ocean and the Fraser River, and you go, wow, I have no boat.
That's a lot of water.
Yeah, and I have no boat. I have this. So it went on the back burner because I didn't have the gears, the stuff that I needed, or I thought I didn't. And it was once I started fishing again, I went, I can do this without a 16-foot boat with a 40-horse motor on it. I can do it.
Yeah.
You know, so I started doing, and the other thing that got me back into things was when my wife, Barb, and I got married, she wanted a pet. She wanted a dog.
Mm-hmm.
So we went and got a dog. And then I had this Brittany Spaniel, and I went, I knew from my grandparents, my mom's parents, that these were good hunting dogs. So I started finding ways to use the dog the way they were intended, and that kind of got me ramped back up to becoming a hunter again. So now when I hunted when I was in high school, I walked the old mining roads shooting grouse on the side of the road, right?
Yeah.
I didn't have a dog.
Yeah.
But once I had a dog and had trained them, then I started doing a lot of hunting. And
Well, let's go into the dogs, because that's something that was pretty obsessive in your life.
it was.
So you get a dog, and then you decide to figure out how to use the dog for hunting. So you start exploring the hunting side. And then where does the dogs go from there in your life, taking over your life?
And that's what it did. When we got our first dog, he was in the top 25 percentile of talent. I mean, he was competitive, but he wasn't real competitive. And I came across a dog trainer, professional dog trainer, and we were out at his house one Sunday, having coffee and talking about how my dog Orion was doing and whatnot. And this pup that was running around kept coming over to me, and I'd pick him up and put him in my lap, and I'd pet him, and then I'd put him back on the ground, and then he'd be back. So I'd pick him up and pet him, and I'd put him on the ground. And when we were getting ready to leave, the trainer, Frank, said, "He obviously likes you. You can have him."
Really?
Yeah. Well, he had gotten him from one of his other clients. Anyway, so Bandit, he won his first field trial placement when he was 7 months old. And when I retired him, he had over 100 field trial placements.
Wow. And how old? What's the time span of that?
7 months to 11 years. He won his last trial when he was 11 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. So
describe kind of what goes on in a dog trial, just if people aren't familiar with it.
Well, Brittany Spaniels are pointing dogs for upland hunting. So in a dog trial, you need a bunch of room, because at the level that we were trialing at, it was all horseback handled, horseback judges.
Okay.
And it was a half-hour stake. Now, you would turn the dogs loose, and they would hunt the countryside. And basically, the judges are looking at where they're running, how they're running. Are they running with intelligence? Are they just out there to hear their ears flap? And in gun dog, which is what Bandit was, there was also a gunner that rode with us, and the first bird that your dog found, they would kill it, and he'd have to retrieve it.
Mm-hmm.
Then one subsequent to that, they'd just you'd shoot it with a pop gun, right?
Yeah.
So, like the trials that Bandit ran down in the States, there would be like 40 plus dogs in them. So if you won that, you beat 39 dogs.
And so how do they judge them based off of that?
Well, and there's the kettle of fish, because some judges go, gun dogs shouldn't run that big.
Yeah.
Gun dogs shouldn't go there. Gun dogs shouldn't do this. There's other judges who go, yes, I don't care if I hardly see the dog, as long as I see him enough to go, there he is out there, and there he is on point. Mm-hmm. So it's a crapshoot what your judge is looking for in that particular day.
So do you start to get to know these judges and what they're looking for, and then train your dog around that, or just avoid some of those judges?
No, my theory was that any dog can win on, well, not any dog, but a good dog can win on any given day. Mm-hmm. So if I was going to the trial, I was running the dog. And I have to say, by the time we were going to these trials, I had a dozen adult dogs at home.
Oh, wow.
We were breeding dogs and whatnot. So, like I'd go to a trial with a puppy, which is 6 to 18 months, a Derby dog, which is 12 to 24 months, and then adult dogs, which are 24 months and older. I'd enter 4 or 5 dogs in a trial.
And so just put a pin in that, because I want to know, you got married before this, or this is while you were single?
Oh, this was all my wife's fault.
Okay.
Because she wanted a dog.
Up
until then, I didn't have a dog.
Yep. So nothing to do with your obsessive personality.
I'm just saying, up until then, I had not been obsessive.
So what are you guys doing for work that allows you all of this freedom to be gallivanting the countryside, showing all these dogs?
Oh, God. I was working for a bank, and Barb was working for a not like a realtor, but commercial real estate company.
Yep.
So on a weekend, we would get home, and Barb would throw our stuff in the travel trailer we had. And I would come home, load the dogs up, hook up to the travel trailer, and we'd hit the road. And we would drive. I mean, some nights I pulled into field trial grounds in Central Oregon at 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning.
And where were you living at this time?
We were living in Surrey.
Okay.
Yeah. I'd run dogs, and as soon as I ran my last dog, we'd pack up everything, hook up the trailer, and I'd leave. And if I had placed, a friend of mine would grab my ribbon or trophy, and then just bring it to the next trial, because we leave about 5 o'clock in the morning or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Drive home, get home at 1 or something like that, unhook the trailer, unload the dogs, and go to bed, and then get up and go to work.
So what do you think it was about, like, trialing dogs that was so, I guess, addictive, or just drove you to kind of commit that much to it?
I have to admit, for me, it was not a good thing. I wanted to have my name, my kennel name, my dog's name in the record books for national champion, producing winning dogs, whatever. And I actually, looking back now, I regret how I went about it, because I had some fantastic dogs, and they spent most of their life away from me in the hands of a professional trainer. It was, I regret it. I regret not having spent time with them.
Yeah.
Which is why, and you've experienced this, you come to my house and you're mobbed by the hounds that live in the house.
Yeah.
My dogs don't live in a kennel outside anymore.
Yeah.
They're in the house with me. They sleep on the couch. And I have so many regrets for the dogs who wanted to be dogs and ended up being tools.
Yeah. Did you hunt a lot with them outside of the trials?
Oh,
or?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would, at that time, I was doing a lot of my hunting in central Washington near Ellensburg.
Okay.
And their season went from middle of October to the middle of January. So I would hunt 10 or 11 weekends of the year.
Wow.
As soon as I got off work, I'd load up the dogs I was taking that weekend, and I'd drive down to, I had a single wide trailer on the Yakima Indian Reserve. And we'd get there at like 11 o'clock at night, turn the dogs loose because we were so far out in the country, you couldn't even see a light.
Yeah.
And while they were running around, I'd dish their dinner, call them in, feed them, and put them in their boxes for the night. And then the next morning, we'd be up at dark o'clock, turn the dogs loose to do their business, feed them, put them in the boxes to go to the first place we were going to hunt. So,
did Barb ever hunt with you, or she just went showing with you?
Barb went hunting twice.
Okay.
And I give my wife a lot of credit because when she married me, well, I won't say she'd never seen a gun because her dad had a shotgun, right? But when we started doing the dogs and that, she went through her hunter training course. She took all of the lessons, wrote the exam, and got her certificate to be able to buy a hunting license. And she went, God forbid, she went chucker hunting with me.
Yeah.
3 of all of the things she should have tried, that was near the bottom.
That's not it.
That was not it. But it was kind of funny. I had a 20 gauge pump that I gave her, and she would load that up, walk all day, unload it, load it up the next morning, walk all day and unload it. She hunted 2.5 seasons, never fired a shot.
Really?
There was one time I remember we were on a little bit of a bench on the mountain, and she was closer to the edge. I was closer to the mountain itself. And one of the dogs went on point. And I said, point. And Barb kind of looked over, took a couple of steps, and a dozen chucker got up and flew. And she said, oh, that was beautiful. And I said, yep. And they were safe.
And 12 got away.
Yeah.
12 got up and 12 got away.
Yeah. She never even got the gun to her shoulder. She just stood there and watched them fly.
Huh, that's awesome.
I went, we better get you a camera. You can be a different kind of hunter.
Yeah, you can shoot them with a lens.
Yeah, but...
So in all of this obsession with showing your dogs and hunting with your dogs, when did you start getting the itch to get back into fishing / fly fishing? Well,
I'd always had it in the back of my mind to try fly fishing. And my grandfather, my mom's dad, him and my grandma were real outdoors people. They hunted, they fished. When they were younger, my grandfather ran a trap line. There's a picture somewhere, and I'd like to get a copy of it. It's my grandfather, one of Grandma's cousins had the towing business in Yak.
In Yak?
Yeah, Yak, BC.
Okay.
Oh, have you never seen the T-shirts?
No,
I've been to Yak and back.
No.
Oh, I'll get you one if I ever pass through there again. Anyway, there's a picture of him standing, and there's a beam on the lift, the hook part of the tow truck, and there's 5 whitetail bucks hanging off of this beam.
Yeah.
And I said, how many of those did you shoot? And he said 3 of them. So he was he hunted, fished, whatnot. And he subscribed to all of the outdoor magazines at the time, Outdoor Life, Field and Stream. Every month I sat there with pins and needles. And as the books came in, my grandfather had a rule. I didn't touch him till he'd finished.
Yeah.
So he'd start reading and then he'd pass it to me. And I remember this picture. I can describe it perfectly. It was a guy standing at the tail end of a gravel bar in a river up to about his knees, and he's casting a fly rod, and there's this perfect, because of course it's a picture.
Yeah. So
there's this perfect loop, and I went, oh, I want to do that someday.
Do you think it was AI?
Yeah, my eye, AI,
your eye.
Yeah. No,
so that was your first.
That was my first thing that said, I want to do this, right?
Yep.
But it was something I'd never done, and actually where I was growing up in the Lower Mainland and in Rossland Trail area, nobody fly fished that I knew. I'd never seen anybody actually fly fishing.
Yeah.
One of our trips down to Yakima, I forget why we got going, I know why. We were on the road while it was still light. All of us had gotten an extra day off, so we went down on Friday during the day rather than Friday night. And one of the road into Yakima went along the Yakima River, and there was a guy. It was like somebody said, "Yeah, you remember that picture? Well, here it is." And there was a guy standing about his knees at the tail end of a gravel bar, and he was casting what I later learned a floating line, because there was this lime green.
Oh yeah.
Line just in a nice loop. He was casting that, and I went, oh yeah, I want to do that. I remember now. I wanted to do that. And a couple of years later, I came across what turned out to be one of my worst fly rods I ever owned, but
was it a bamboo, or was it?
Oh no, it was a 2x4.
2x4s.
Yes. The
felt like one.
It cast like one. Let me tell you, it was rod, reel, line, 10 flies for $89.95.
Wow.
Yeah. So I bought that, and that's how I started fly fishing.
About how old were you?
Oh, gosh. I'd have been about 45.
45. So this is parallel the dog trials, or the dog trials are now about to take a back seat in your life, or find the time for both? I was
still dog trialing. We were breeding less now. And I was upland hunting, and I had started waterfowl hunting again.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And so you're still living in Surrey?
No, when this was going on, I had moved to Abbotsford.
Abbotsford, which would be home for the next
26 years.
26 years.
Yeah.
So fly fishing now, BC, where was the place that you really cut your teeth?
Well,
you don't have to name drop.
No, it's not. It's where I cut my teeth was in the Kamloops lakes that Brian Chan was getting triploids established and whatnot. Roche Lake. I could name 20 lakes that we used to fish at. but I was kicking a pontoon around the interior lakes up around Kamloops.
And so what about those lakes? Like, what was it to draw you to those lakes? Was it becoming a media sensation with what Brian Chan was doing, or was it just like, how did you hear about them?
I was in a fly shop in the Wally area of Surrey, Michael and Young. And I was trying to figure out why my rod was casting like a brick.
Yeah, not
No,
you.
2x4. It was horrible. But anyway, I talked to a guy there, and they were kind of interesting because they had a bunch of reels set up with different weight fly lines on them. So if you were looking at a 5-weight rod, they could give you a 5-weight line, hook it up for you, and you could go to the park across the street, and they'd let you cast that rod to see what you think about it.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
So this guy Rick, he grabbed. What did he grab? A 5, 6, 7, and 8. And we walked across to the park. And Rick gave me a very important lesson, which I'm going to take a little segue and tell you right now.
All right.
Because, like I say, I was struggling casting. And Rick, while we were testing out my rod with various weight lines, I said, I want to, I can't cast to where I need to be. And he said, well, you're on the lake, right? And I said, yeah. And he says, move the boat.
Well, I mean,
and I went,
it is.
Well, that was blinding, wasn't it? Move the boat.
Move the boat.
You don't have to cast 100 feet. Just move the boat 50 of those feet.
So what would your advice be to somebody who isn't in a boat?
Well, it depends on where you are. I mean, if you're...
Move your feet.
Well, if you're fishing from shore, you're kind of pooched.
Yeah.
If you're fishing with Dana, you yell at him...
To move the boat.
Get me closer to the fish.
Yep.
But my advice, my move the boat advice would be find out where you have to be to fish the water that you want to.
But isn't that actually such a lesson in itself? Because it's like so many people think that you have to cast the entire fly line out there to A, be good, and B, catch fish. And it's funny how many fish will feed right at our feet. And the problem is everybody's trying to cast speed and distance, and they forget about accuracy. And when they get a fish that's literally, 20 feet within a very easy, normal casting distance, and they cannot lay the fly down to save their life or to catch the fish. But man, watch them double haul an entire fly line off of a reel.
Exactly. To me, when most of the fish, unless I'm on a new lake and I was just trolling around to find where I could and should be.
Yep.
Most of the time, I never have out. You know how with the new weight forward fly lines,
yeah,
I never have all of the weighted part out of the rod.
Yeah, so you're
30 feet 30 plus
feet
my
ahead.
yeah, that's it. And then I would say if I'm casting, 90% of my fish are caught with my leader and less than 30 feet of my fly line.
I know it is so true, and it's really cool advice that you got. So you're at what was it, Michael Young's?
Michael and Young, yeah.
Michael and Young's fly shop.
Yeah.
And so you took some rods across to the
took my rod.
Oh, took your rod.
And 4 different weights of reels across the
street.
street.
The lines and stuff.
And it turns out that my 5-weight fly rod that I picked up, it casts really well with a 7-weight line.
Oh, so you just had a really stiff rod that needed an egregiously overweighted fly line.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, when you're trying to cast that with only a 5-weight, you struggle.
Yeah,
So and that was actually a bad thing to find out, because that fed my next obsession in life
of collecting fly rods.
Exactly.
Dogs from guns. You're a pretty avid gun collector, and then into the fly rods.
Well, you know that you should examine what you're doing in life. When after 6 years of fly fishing, I had 18 fly rods and 3 boats.
Huh. 18 fly rods.
Yeah. Because, hey, you never knew when you needed a different one.
To the guy explaining to his wife that this is normal, what should he say to his wife? Why does one need 18 fly rods?
Well, see, I was at a real disadvantage there, because everybody goes, oh, just tell women it's like shoes.
Yeah.
My wife had like 3 pairs of shoes.
Oh.
So
that didn't work.
Yeah. And one of them was her gum boots. So, like you can't really go, it's like shoes, honey.
Yeah.
She goes, yeah. It was just my wife somewhere around when I got going on fly fishing. We'd been married 10, 12 years.
Yep.
Something like that. She was starting to figure out my personality. Now,
what would that be? Like
obsessive.
Okay, yeah. I just wanted you to
just
come to
wanted
that
me to,
on your own.
Yeah. Now I do have to admit, and since she's passed, I can say these words out loud. I did hide from her the amount of firearms I was purchasing.
Okay, and how does one do that?
Oh, well,
just for people listening, I mean, they're looking for advice.
Well, when I was in the pump action shotgun phase.
Oh, there's a phase of this collection, obsessive.
There is.
Okay, we like it.
When I was in the pump shotgun, I made sure that all of the shotguns looked the same. None of them had, gold inlay, or like you could stack 4 of them up and you wouldn't be able to tell anything about them, except they all had wooden stock, wooden forearm, satin blue finish here. It was just, so I'd bring a gun into the house and stick it in, at that time, the Liberal government hadn't mandated gun safes. So most of my gun collection was behind our bedroom door and in the bedroom closet.
Yeah, but you need to, you got to have a better spot to hide it than that.
No.
Oh.
You hide it in plain sight. You just put it, it's like if there's a real goose standing in 24 goose decoys, how do you find the goose?
Well, yeah, but what are you just hiding them in like
plain sight?
Plain sight.
Yeah. If there was a dozen guns behind in the closet, one day there'd be 13.
Oh yeah.
And she didn't go, okay, write down Mary, this one and serial number this. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah. I didn't have this one.
I didn't have this one logged in the database.
Exactly.
Ted, you are starting to collect more than I accounted for.
Exactly. Then when I got into the over and under shotgun
phase 2, yeah.
They all had to be the same. Wood stock, wood forearm, silver barrels, or blued barrels, silver receiver.
Okay.
So you can take every one of my shotguns, of my over and unders, and pull them out.
And they all look the same.
They all look the same. So
and then what's the next phase? Semi-autos?
No, I actually
never got into that phase.
I did. I had, when I got my first Chesapeake Bay Retriever, we were hunting in the marsh of off of the foreshore of Richmond.
Yeah.
And I set down my Beretta over and under to have a cup of coffee, and some ducks came in. And unfortunately, I had turned my back, so I just had to stand there while my buddy called them and dropped a couple. And I watched my 70-pound Chesapeake run up my gun like it was a diving board and go to retrieve. And I went, I think I need a more rugged shotgun than my $1,600 Beretta.
Yeah.
So
is it what was the Beretta?
The Beretta 686.
686. Who makes the Satori? The Browning.
Yeah. So I went out and bought a semi-auto, basically plastic stock, parkerized, finished.
Yeah, a classic waterfowl gun.
You could store it in salt water and it wouldn't rust.
Yeah.
And that became my diving board for my dogs. So
that got it. So, and then were they all the same, or did you have?
I never got obsessed with semis. To me, that was sort of like
once you had one, that's all you needed.
Yeah, like I had gone from shooting over and under 12s, my 686 for Upland, down to where I didn't even take it anymore. All I carried was a 20 gauge. I probably haven't shot an Upland bird with a 12 gauge in 50 years.
Wow, 20 is your thing.
Yeah, 20 and 28.
28.
Yeah, I love my 28 too.
If you had to get rid of all your shotguns and keep one, which one would it be?
My Browning over and under 20 gauge.
What model is it?
It is a Satori.
Wow, that's a beautiful gun.
It is. That I've carried that gun so much. If you know, on the stock where the comb comes up.
Yep.
On the right hand side of it, there's a spot on the very front edge of that comb that the finish is rubbed off from my thumb while I carried it.
From carrying it?
Just from carrying it.
Huh.
My thumb has rubbed on that so much, there's about a dime-sized spot of finish that's down to bare wood.
Huh. Can you refinish it, or is it just
I could, but that's sort of like going...
It's like that's how much I've carried it.
Yeah. It's... I mean, it never sits anywhere that not having a finish would harm it.
Yeah.
So, and that's just on the other side, there's 2 scratches that are about 2.5 inches long.
Yeah.
That were, I was climbing through a fence, a barbed wire fence. And when I brought the gun through, it got hung up in the barbed wire and scratched the crap out of it.
So with all of your fly rods, if you had to get rid of all of them but one, what would that be?
Oh, well, I have to admit to being a bit of a, what's the right word? I don't have a word, so I'm just going to tell you.
Okay.
I every time I buy a fly rod now, because of how I cast,
yeah.
I find sage rods seem to fit my style of casting.
Yep.
So I've got a 4-weight, a 5-weight, a 6-weight, a 7-weight, and an 8-weight stage. So
yeah, and you just love it.
Well, I could probably get rid of the 7 and the 8 sometime in the fairly near future.
Yeah.
Because I don't fly fish for salmon anymore in Alberta. I haven't found a salmon stream here
yet. No, they're weird. The mountains just kind of eliminated
Make them go away.
The flow going the other way, and the mountains ended that.
Ruins the crap out of the salmon.
Ruins the salmon fishing in Alberta.
It does. So I don't need my coho pink and chum rods here.
I thought you were going to say your favorite fly rod is the one in my boat.
Well, right now it would have to be, yeah. But to be fair, I don't think that rod has anything to do with this. Yeah, I would catch the same number of fish in your boat with damn near any rod as long as I could cast at 30 feet.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So, it's I should get you a thing made called Dana Move the Boat battery.
You should.
Because
just like
you're the embodiment of that.
It's like
idea.
Those quiet signs at the golf tournaments. They just hold them up. You just turn around and just flash them and be like, move the boat.
Well, but that's the embodiment of that idea. That if you are not where the fish are, move the boat.
Yeah.
Right? And that's your philosophy. And I kind of knew what you did when we went fishing, obviously, right?
Yeah.
But last year in August, when you asked me to go fishing with you, and there was only you and me, we didn't take another person.
Yeah.
And watching you row up runs, I remember that one run, you rowed up that thing 4 times to come down it a different way every time till you found where you needed to come down that run to be where the fish were.
Yeah, because they like your boat moves, the fish move.
Yeah. But, that's where I understood what your thinking is all about is if you, because of the amount of rain we got last year and the river got changed on an ongoing basis as far as some
volume
of the, volume, like it changed and when you knew you didn't know where the fish were, I mean, we spent a whole day, me just watching you row up the river.
What was the biggest lesson you learned that day?
What was the biggest lesson I learned that day?
I know what it is because you told me on your next trip.
To me, it was the dedication you put into understanding what you need to do for your clients. I mean, it was staggering the amount of work that you do.
What about yourself did you learn?
I learned that if I do what Dana tells me, I'm going to catch fish.
And do what?
Oh, yes. Set the hook.
Set the hook.
Set the hook.
Which upon your next trip with Sean.
Oh, I whooped his butt.
Yeah, that was a bad day to be.
That
Sean.
was a bad
and
day.
And he
to
had
be.
the front of the boat.
And I gave him the front of the boat.
I know.
But, I learned that was the one thing I got out of that day was you can get the take.
Yeah.
But unless you're in the moment and working, it's just, well, Ted, you had another bite. That's just, to me, that.
Well, you don't know unless you set the hook.
Well, but you also, it's disrespectful to the amount of work that you put in to not do my half of it.
Yeah.
Like it's like saying, wow, you got that bite, but hey, we'll never know what it was because I was goofing around.
Or not trusting your guide.
Yeah.
So you currently live in Olds, Alberta.
I do.
And let's kind of talk about that part of the journey from Abbotsford to Olds. And how long have you been in Olds?
July of 2018, we moved to Olds.
Okay. And what were you guys doing at the time and thought, hey, Olds is the place to go?
Well, in reality, I had not thought about Alberta was the place to go, never mind Olds. I went to work one day. After I retired, Cabela's opened up a store in Abbotsford, so I went and filled out their application and got a job working at Cabela's. And one day I went to work. I left in the morning. I was a happy guy. I came home and my wife says, we're moving to Alberta. She had talked to our daughter who had moved to Edmonton 10 years ago before that. And she goes, I want to be closer to Christina. So we moved to Alberta. Barb's niece had a friend out towards Torrington. And
which is about 20 minutes east of Olds.
Yeah, 35 kilometers east.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, there was a piece of property for sale, and there was a realtor's sign on it. So Angela took a picture of the thing and sent it to us, and we phoned them. And anyway, we came out, looked at a bunch of houses, and we bought a house in Olds. So
Olds of all places.
Well, it's kind of funny because I have a friend of mine who lives up in St. Albert, just outside of Edmonton.
Yep.
And I said, oh, I found this house. I think I'm going to look at it to buy it. It's 7 acres right on the Old Man River. So George sent me this series of maps, spring, summer, fall, and winter, of the average wind velocity in Alberta. And it turns out that any place south of Nanton or Okotoks is a wind tunnel.
That it is.
So I went, okay. And then I said, so the deep south is out. And then somebody said, yeah, and anything north of Red Deer, you don't get the Chinooks. So I went, so the deep north is out.
So it became Calgary / to Olds.
Yep.
As a funnel of perfection.
Well, it turned out, had I really been diligent about this, I was still in the denial phase of, please don't make me move to Alberta.
Mm-hmm.
If I'd looked into it, I probably would have moved further east of here. Because I have, if I'm truthful, I have 3 things in my life that I really: waterfowl hunting, upland hunting, and fly fishing.
Yep.
And Olds is not a hotbed of waterfowl hunting.
No.
We're a little bit too far west for the tons of ducks and geese, further east. So last year I was in Abbotsford. I shot 88 ducks that year. And this year, most years I shoot 15 or 16. So
yeah, out here.
Yeah. So, but on the other hand, I'd never caught a brown trout before, and now
you've caught many.
I have caught many. It's funny, if a guy, friend of mine, sent me this article on how hard brown trout are to catch, and I went, no, brown trout, those suckers almost jump in the boat. All you need is a Dana.
All you need is the right fly and the right guy.
Yeah, but I remember that one trip you and I went on. I think that whole day we caught 2 rainbows.
Yeah,
there was brown trout. So
yeah, was that was that the one with Troy when it started off all white
with the
fish
mountain fish.
Yeah.
And then, although I do see now, talking on a podcast, there's a problem because I can't hold up my fingers and illustrate my point about how you just don't take direction as a guide.
Yeah, well, let's get into that story, but before we do, we're going to back it up and talk about retirement and you and Barb kind of moving to Olds, and what the first few years in Olds was like for you guys.
That to be honest, that was a very hard period of my life. Barb liked her. She raised mice and rats and crickets to sell for reptiles. And it was work that she liked. We had the barn set up, and she'd take her cup of coffee and go in there and do whatever needed being done.
Feed the food.
Well, and she had things to clean in that, but it was, she had a routine, and it wasn't like a lot of work every day and hard work, but as long as you followed the routine, everything got done in a reasonable manner, right? So she wasn't in a huge rush to retire. Like I said, we should retire. Oh, we don't need to, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, long story short, she finally, my daughter said, I'm not moving back to BC. So if you want to see me more, you're going to have to move to Alberta. So we sold our acreage and we moved to Alberta. Now, like I said, July 2018. February 2019, she got her cancer diagnosis. So we had about 6 months of quote unquote retirement, and then almost 4 years of chemo. So it was, it wasn't, I thought it was horrible that when she finally got retired, God moved the goalpost and went, no touchdown for you. So it was a whiles after that before I started, quote unquote, enjoying my retirement.
Yeah, that's
kind of one of the things, like when I listen to people go, well, I'm going to work until I'm like this, I tell them, if you have the financial means to retire, do it as soon as you can. Because the day you're going to die. So
we're all going to die.
Exactly. But if you've hung out there because just a few more dollars or a few more of this, fate has a way of smacking you that it's tragic. One of the girls I went to high school with, 60 years old, she didn't even start collecting her pension and she was gone. Mm-hmm. So, no, I think that I'm reasonably healthy and still able to do a lot of the stuff that I'm doing. But I regret Barb not enjoying her retirement. So,
what was her cancer diagnosis?
Pancreatic.
And she had 4 years. That's
almost 4 years. She toughed it out.
How was the journey? Where were you guys going for treatment, and what was?
Once a week, we went into Red Deer, and she sat in the oncology department there, hooked up to the bag and got her, she was getting so much chemo, they put a port up by her collarbone on the front so that they didn't have to find a vein in her arm. They just basically put the needle into this little rubber ball that was underneath her skin and hooked up into her vein permanently. And she would sit there for 2 hours and get the chemicals pumped into her every week.
And then you were telling me kind of her for like a whole week or 3 or 4 days was just
her routine after that was, well, a lot of it depended on what they were trying at the time, because like Barb was a stubborn person. And when she decided that she was going to fight this and fight it all the way, they'd go, "We have a new treatment." And Barb goes, "Bring it on." Yeah. She had, I think, the only one that she well and truly hated. Barb had red hair, and that was almost a good portion of her identity, right?
Fiery ginger.
That's her, right? So one of the treatments, all of her hair fell out, and she was devastated. They had another treatment they wanted to try after about 6 or 8 months, and when they started that, her hair started to grow back, and she was really excited until it came in brunette. Whoa, I think she was almost as PO'd at brunette as she was at bald.
Yeah.
So, but but for her, a week was treatment on Wednesday, feel like crap Wednesday night. Didn't eat Thursday. Friday, depending on the treatment, Friday morning, Friday night, she'd have a meal. Usually, if it was just Friday night, it would be like scrambled eggs and a slice of toast. Then Saturday, I'd do something with soft-boiled eggs, something like that, and I'd make dinner Saturday night. Then Sunday, she was coming back to normal. Then Monday, Tuesday, and then boom,
Wednesday back.
Yeah. So some of them she didn't recover her appetite until Sunday. So it was, basically, what do you feel like eating? Nothing. Mm-hmm. And I learned not to try and convince her. Like, how do you tell somebody, I know you're not hungry and you feel like you want to throw up, but you should eat something anyway, honey. And she says, "You can die if you keep this up." Okay. And I'll tell you, I mean, other than the suffering on her part, the thing that I hated about her chemo was it meant the fact that you had to go into Red Deer every Wednesday.
Yeah.
Meant you weren't going to Wyoming with the travel trailer camping.
Yeah.
You weren't going anywhere. You were just waiting to cycle up again to go to Red Deer on Wednesday. And
talk a bit, like, because I mean, some people might say, well, look what she's going through, but I also say that there's two people, dealing with this, and for yourself, like you kind of alluded to there, and I know you've shared it with me in the past, but like, what is honestly going on in your head, and what are real thoughts that you're having during this time?
Well, kind of one of the things that I made up my mind is whatever she needed, I would do that. Like if one night she goes, I really want, and she names something like a piece of salmon, I'd go to the store and I'd buy a piece of salmon. Mm-hmm. Like, if whatever she wanted, she got. And I also thought that as this went on, that this is going to get a little dark. So when we were talking to the oncologist, the guy, Barb was no nonsense, no butter it up or frill it up for her.
Just like you, just straight.
She says, what are the odds with pancreatic cancer? And he said 4% survival. And I'm going, 4 out of 100 people survive this? I wouldn't go to Las Vegas with those odds.
No.
But Barb said, fine, then I'm going to be one of the 4. What he didn't tell her, and he mentioned to me, was if you're an oncologist, if your patient lasts 5 years from when they get the diagnosis, that they consider that you survived it. It's not when he finally told me this, he says, I haven't had a patient yet.
So you don't beat it.
There is no remission with pancreatic cancer. All we're doing is seeing how far down the timeline you can go.
Yeah, the 4% made it to 5 years.
Made it to 5 years, exactly. And I hated that this was Barb's retirement. That after working for the number of years she did, you got almost 4 years of barfing and losing your hair and feeling like crap half of your life. That's why, like my niece, Barb's oldest brother's daughter, she smoked. And I told her, quit smoking. Look at what Barb's going through. Quit smoking. And every time I saw her or talked to her, I'd tell her, quit smoking. This is bad. And Angela quit smoking just because of watching what Barb went through. So, but the thing with going through that as the spouse, I thought, I've got lots of time to wrap my head around Barb's ultimate loss. I'm going to lose her, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I tell you, almost 4 years later, and my head wasn't wrapped around anything. 44 years I was married to her, and it was a kick in the groin when she died. It's almost, well, this June, it'll be 4 years. And it's still, I mean, I don't pine, if you will, for her, but I miss her. I miss the stupid things she used to do. I miss one of the skits you see on crappy comedy shows is they're in bed and the guy drops an air muffin under there and then pulls an
air muffin,
pulls the covers over the wife's head. Barb thought it was hilarious as hell to drop an air muffin in bed. She would drop one and then lay there laughing so hard. It was unbelievable. And I'm going, really? This is how mature you are?
An air muffin.
But
she apparently wasn't known for her baking muffins. It was just for her air muffins.
Exactly. But she, to her, that if she could catch you that way, it was funny as hell.
Yeah.
Not that I need to experience that again, but I do kind of miss that warped way of living, right?
So you're saying June is 4 years since she passed.
June 20th, 2022.
Huh.
Yeah.
So you guys go from dog shows every weekend till, like you talked about that,
Friday nights to Sunday night, working, back to the dog shows. If you're not dog shows, you're hunting. All of that stuff just takes an absolute complete back seat during this time.
Oh, I did. I because Alberta has a very good pheasant release program with their release sites. And there's one that's about 35 minutes away from Olds here.
Yeah.
I would get out a couple times a week. And one of the other things is Barb and I were kind of a mismatch because I used to be a get up at 5:30 in the morning kind of guy. And Barb was kind of a, whoa, I made it. I'm up in the morning. I'm okay.
Yeah.
Kind of person. So there was many times I'd get up, get dressed, grab the dog, grab my gun, go out, shoot a couple of pheasants and be home. And Barb was still snoring away. And she was like this before she got sick.
Yeah,
Like,
that was just her. Not a morning person.
Oh, to her, the greatest gift that you got was Saturday morning not having to get up to go to work. And to her, part of that was Saturday morning.
Yeah.
When we were dating, there was a lot of times that, like, I'd get up, I'd go to a restaurant, I'd buy a newspaper, I'd sit there, I'd drink coffee, have breakfast, read the newspaper, cover to cover, go back, get in, I'd do stuff, and she'd wander out at like 12:30 and think, oh, I'm up early. I'm going, the amount of stuff I've already done.
I know. I've accomplished a whole day. I'm ready for my nap.
I need a nap. Exactly. But to her, that was one of the gifts of working was not getting up, So,
and then the fly fishing part, you moved to Alberta, you start doing your research, you hear about places to go fishing, fishing.
Well, I mean, there was obviously the ones like the big names, like I knew of the Bow River, right? But every time you drive along the Bow River, you see, you see this 50, 60 foot wide river with rocks and rapids and stuff like that. And you go, how the heck do I fish that?
Yeah, right back to the beginnings of the Columbia River.
Right, exactly. And this friend of mine who lives up in St. Albert, he used to buy his BC fishing license because he says there's no fishing in Alberta. It's all gone. So I was kind of going, am I in some kind of desert where there's only a couple of places like the Bow River or that are good?
Yeah.
And you do a little research, but you go, well, what am I going to do with the North Saskatchewan River for sturgeon?
Yeah.
Right? And there is no salmon fishing here, so I can't do that. So I was struggling a bit, mentally, as far as how I would figure it out, how I would get going again. And, one of the hardest parts for me was I had spent my whole life in BC. When I moved down to the coast to go to school, I met people there. I met people there that are still friends of mine. But when I moved here, none of them moved with me.
Mm-hmm.
So I was here in Alberta, going, what now? Where do I go? Who do I see? It was losing. Well, I've been here 8 years, so losing 66, 67 years of your life was tough. And one of the other things is here in Alberta, there is so much private land compared to BC. So you want to go hunt ducks, try and find the guy, try and even find the guy who owns that field.
Yeah, let alone where he lives to ask him.
Exactly. So it was, to be honest, if it wasn't for the pheasant release sites, I probably wouldn't have been doing anything because I had no foundation. And then when I met you at the gym,
that's a fun story.
Yeah, that was. And I'll tell it as soon as I quit crying like a little girl. So that was the hardest part. And I used to belong to Ducks Unlimited in BC. I joined the local Ducks Unlimited. What the heck good is a Ducks Unlimited chapter where not one person is a duck hunter?
They're just money collectors.
I kid you not. Not one person in that was a duck hunter. I'm going, what? Like
Yeah.
I was I'm going, how does a guy find a duck hunter if you can't find it at Ducks Unlimited?
It's a good point.
So that was clearly not a productive. Anyway, I used to big game hunt in BC, so I did that a little bit here, but it was never my passion in BC, and it turned out to really be a lot less of my passion here than it was there. So, but yeah, meeting you at the gym, that was kind of the turning point for a lot of this stuff for me, because well, first of all, I had somebody to talk to. So that right there was that was probably more important to me at that time than ever doing any fishing. Just the fact that we walk around the track and talk about this, that, and the other thing.
Get in fights. Just
Well, let's not paint a picture of, but yeah, but it was
awesome. Yeah.
It kind of grounded me through a lot of the shit I was going through, right?
Yeah. Well, and tell the story how you came up to me at the gym.
Oh, I was on the track doing my laps, and Dana was on, I think, if I remember right, you were on the
it was a device right beside the track, so you had to walk by me.
Like the one where you do the
pec deck.
Pec deck, yes. And you had on your hat, says, "Love people, catch fish." And I went, "Oh, interesting hat." I did another lap, and you were still there. So I said, "Do you fish?" And that was the start of one of the worst periods of my life. But yeah, that was.
I said, "No, I don't. I watch people fish."
Yeah, but no, you didn't. You said, "Yes, I do." So anyway, we started talking about this, that, the other thing. And then you took me the first time down the bow with Troy.
Well, yeah, and that was probably January, February.
March. March that year.
No, we went down in March, but when we met was not much before that.
It was just after New Year's. It was like right in the very first part of January. Yep.
Yeah, and then you told me you've done a few trips on the bow, and all you wanted was a brown trout.
Well, okay. I had only done one trip on the bow, and I was very unhappy with it, which is neither here nor there. But yes, and this was what I alluded to way back in the beginning when I said,
Yeah.
Dana does not take direction very well.
Yeah, because Ted said, what was your ask?
You said to me, "What if we can accomplish one thing today? What is it?" And I said, "I've never caught a brown trout." I held my fingers about 8 inches apart, and I said, "I'd like to catch a brown trout." And Dana said, "Well, we'll try." And you know what? 18 inches, 20 inches, 17 inches. We caught 0 8-inch brown trout.
And how many trips did it take you before you caught your 8-inch brown trout?
5 or 6.
I know, it's so disappointing.
I was going, you suck. You suck at you.
I did not ask for these 20-inch brown trout.
I did not ask for these 20-inch brown trout. I want my 8-inch brown trout.
I tried. I said we'll try.
Well, and we finally accomplished it, so I can move on now.
And it was a glorious day.
Oh, but see, that's the thing. And I'm starting to become semi-superstitious about this because you keep telling me
you're going to have a bad... Well,
you're going to have a bad day.
Redefine bad day. I said, because every day is a great day.
Well, that's not true. Okay?
Well, we've all had great days.
But what I was going to say is every day that you and I and someone else are on the river,
yeah,
I haven't had a bad day yet. The people that we've gone with, my nephew, all of the guys like Aaron and Troy and Tim and Mike and Dave and that have all been great days.
Yep.
Like they've been. I keep waiting for the day. Well, I actually had one day that I floated the bow and did not get a bite.
Well, that wasn't with me.
No,
you had 2.
Nope.
Yeah, you did 2 guided trips, and one of them you took Chris, and you guys didn't.
Oh yeah, that was not with Fly Fishing Bow River. That was with someone else. And I did a float with
guide school
from one of the guys from guide school.
Yeah,
and I didn't get a bite that day either. But you know what?
Well, those got to happen for you to appreciate the good days.
But the thing is, even that day with the guide school guide, and it was still a good day.
Yeah,
like it was kind of funny actually, because by then I had done enough trips with you. I went, "You're on the wrong part of the river. I'm going, you need to be over there." Yeah, and I'm going, this is bad when I know more than my guide.
Well, your student guide.
My student guide, yes. But I still had a good day. Funny enough, one of my highlights of almost every day we've been on the river is pulling over and sitting and enjoying the river and having lunch and talking and whatnot. To me, that part of the day of like when Barb and I lived in Abbotsford with our daughter, my daughter said all of her friends thought we were freaks. The fact that we sat down to dinner every night of the week, sat around the table, talked about how was school, what's this, how's that, and communicated. Like actually paid attention to what what other people were doing in their lives, what was going on. And to me, pulling over for lunch is just a continuation of that bonding, integrating with the people in your life. It's
that's pretty cool to hear.
It's one of the things that is my touchstone touchstone, if you will, to be able to sit there and half the time we don't even talk about what we're doing on the river.
No.
We talk about other things. We talk about when Sean's down, you guys veer off into sports, like we talk about all of this sort of stuff because to me, that's part of the touchstone of my life is being able to bond verbally with my inner circle, if you will.
Yeah, your people.
My people, right? So, I mean, if I just floated down the bow, did not cast a single line, just watched the ducks, the geese, the pheasants, all of the stuff we've seen on the river, and pulled over and had lunch, that would be a good day still.
Yeah, it is. It's so much. I mean, that's stuff that I thoroughly enjoy. Is like the catching and the fishing and all that stuff is awesome. It's not to negate it, but it's the little pullovers and the conversations and the lunch and the
it's kind of funny because we kid each other. Like part of your thing here was telling the stories and the lessons.
Yeah,
but every story doesn't have to have a lesson. It just has to have a feeling for the people telling the story and the people listening to the story about sharing their life, like sharing the things that they value, like a lot of the stuff that you, especially you and Sean and I, talk about on the river is not a lesson where we go, and the lesson here, folks, is don't bet your money on the Canucks. But it's one of my favorite stories, and I'm the butt of this.
The butt of the joke.
I'm the butt of the joke.
Tell him your nickname.
Hey, never mind.
Self-proclaimed, you gave yourself this nickname before anything happened.
Yes. I saw a clip of a singer, Teddy Swims.
Yeah.
And I loved his music. I loved his voice, and I loved his music. So one day, that was the trip we did with Aaron, right?
It is, yeah. And you were hooked up on a fish telling us the story because you were so confident.
Yeah. But anyway, I said something, and I said, and Teddy Swims does this. So then Aaron picked up on it like a fat kid on a Smartie, and all of a sudden everything was Teddy Swims this, Teddy Swims that.
And then we're like, don't really go in because we don't want to call you Teddy Sinks.
And then the next time I'm out fishing, Aaron's been up talking to other people. I've got other guides in the company talking about Teddy Swims. And anyway, what was it?
Well, you were going to tell him why the name truly stays.
Well, then Teddy went on his ass
twice last year.
Yeah, twice.
Yeah, the what? So, Teddy does. He does sort of swim.
He mostly bobs along.
Yeah,
but it's see that's
the stuff.
That's the stuff. But the one what I was going to tell the story was Sean had hooked a fish, so Dana rowed over to the shore to get out to net the fish, right? And take some pictures and whatnot. And I have to admit that I don't really have anything where I could say,
well, this is where you're going to sue me.
No.
Okay.
That it wasn't my fault. Nobody told me that there was a tree right above my head.
Oh,
Nobody told me.
I think I did.
In actual fact, you did tell me that.
Yeah.
You said, watch the tree. And just when you were pulling up the rope, I said, "Oh, we need to get fly out of the tree."
Yeah, I've cast it into the tree. It's like, don't think about a purple elephant or a pink elephant.
God, I'd like to say it wasn't my fault, but there was nobody else. It was
just
square into,
yeah,
you weren't paying attention. Spoink. There's actually, I don't know whether you have it or I have it, but there's a picture of me standing there looking at my fly up in the tree.
I have that for sure.
Yeah.
I have all the good ones.
Yeah. So
I didn't get one of you under the boat though, because I was spiderwebbed with Sean's tangle around my neck, and I was spiderwebbed to the seat. And if we would have lost you for good, nobody was coming to get you. Yes, me and Sean were also a tangled mess.
Yeah, but you know, where I was going with this way back when was the vast majority of my memories for the times that you and I and person X have gone on the river I have some awesome fish memories.
Yeah.
And this is going to sound really bad, and whoever listens to this, I apologize. But I have caught so many fish with Dana that unless they're truly unforgettable.
And those ones probably got away.
Yes, smarten up. Unless they're truly unforgettable, I've forgotten about them already.
Yeah.
You know, but the things of casting my fly into a tree or things like that, those are what my memories are now. The intangible, but very important part of a trip. And that's why, God forbid, and don't do this to me. I could see that I would still have a great day on the river if I didn't catch a fish, because those intangibles are still going to be there. They're still going to happen. We're still going to
have fun.
We're going to have fun, and we're going to end up hooking a fly someplace it shouldn't, or you know, like those things are still going to happen. And as you said, the fish that I remember that stick out in my mind after the number of fish that you and I and Sean have caught are the ones that smacked me and whacked me and embarrassed the crap out of me.
Yep.
And then went away laughing.
Before we could even know. We knew, but we don't really know.
Yeah. So, you know, like, I mean, I've got some pictures of some big fish, but it's funny. I have to look at the background of those fish to go, oh, there's Tim. Oh, that was the trip that Tim, you know, like that Dana, Tim and I went. Oh, there's Aaron. Oh, like that's my touchstone on what trip it was. Oh, Sean is in his shorts. That was July, right? Like even the fish, and I mean, we've caught some big fish, but even the fish are not enough to go, oh yeah, I remember that fish. I need to find who we were. So
remember that day.
The intangible of that was who I was with, you know, like all of the background stuff, not the fish.
Yeah.
You know? And I mean, you go, look at the size of that fish. Oh, yeah. That was
that day.
That was the day that blah, blah, blah happened.
And
right?
then the DVD replays in your brain. And that's what I love about the pictures. Is not just the fish pictures, but it's this like magic of, that day. And then everything rages through your brain.
If you photoshopped out the background, right?
Yeah.
And just said, here's Dana holding up a big fish.
Yeah.
It wouldn't mean a dang thing to me.
I know.
But here's Dana.
I've got this day.
One of my little photo things in my phone is, oh, yeah. So as I'm going backwards, because that's how I scroll through my phone, I'm going along and I'm going, oh, yeah, look at the size of that fish. Oh, yeah. Oh, there's Tim standing in the back of the truck in his funny underwear.
Yeah.
Oh, that was that trip, right?
Yeah.
You know? So
that is the magic.
It is.
That is what is so fun about fly fishing, and kind of that upland bird hunting or waterfowl hunting is the people that you get to spend it with. And you'd be shocked if I told you we're almost at 2 hours. I told you we'd get there, no problem at all.
Yeah.
Right? It's fun.
Now that I look at the clock, I cannot argue.
Okay, so I got one question before we kind of wrap things up for you. Well, I have a couple here, but I'm going to pick one and ask you, if you could speak to a man who just lost his wife, what would you tell him?
I don't think I'd tell him anything. I'd ask him, did you guys enjoy your life? Because if you didn't, you just pissed away an opportunity to have memories for for the rest of your life. Like, if you did not use your time well, shame on you. And that's why, like, when I see people now who are age 65 and they go, I'm going to work another 4 years, I go, I would slap you silly if I could, because if you lose those years, you're going to regret it.
Yeah.
Don't. I mean, nobody can retire, well, unless you win the lottery. Yeah. Nobody can retire at age 40 and go, woo-hoo. But, when you've done your financial planning and whatnot, and you can retire comfortably, do it.
Yeah.
Do it. Spend your time. Take your wife all of the place. One of the things I found out, and it really upset me, was when Barb was already into chemo, and I saw this thing on the TV. It was a commercial for a safari company in Africa, and they took you on a safari, not go to this place and then do little day things. They took you to a place, you spent the night there, you had breakfast, you loaded up, and you went from point A to point B. And when you got to point B, there was another camp, and you spent it. And then you went to C, and you went to D.
Yeah.
Like, you traveled around the countryside. Yeah. And Barb said, I've always wanted to go to Africa.
Huh.
And I went, why didn't you say anything? Like, now that we can't? Well, I mean, we had the money to do it.
Yeah,
but we didn't have the time. And that's what I would say to anybody who's still, don't waste time. It's the one thing you can never replace.
That is a mic drop.
Yep. So,
well, Ted, I appreciate your vulnerability, your candor, your openness, and I knew the stories would be easy to share once we got going. So I know I kind of dragged you into this, and I've heard some of these stories, and I know the story of Barb, but I just heard it in a whole new way today. And I'm so grateful for our friendship. I'm grateful for that moment in the gym that you came up and asked me if I fished. I know we've got to spend a lot of time on the river the last few years, and I'm grateful for each and every single one of those encounters with you.
Well, thanks for having me. I apologize to the people that are going to listen to this rambling, but one of my one of my prize, and it's the wrong word, but it makes this sound right. One of my prized possessions right now is the friendship I have with you and Janine and Matea and Hayden. It's a huge part of my life.
Well, we are grateful to have adopted you into. It's interesting just how life lines things up, and some people show up when all people show up exactly when you need them, but we don't always see that.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's beautiful. But this has been another episode of Fly Fishing Saves Lives. And if you have a story that you want to share, I would love to be your vehicle. Just get a hold of me. Probably the best way is on Instagram at First Cast Last Pass, or I don't know if you can contact people through Spotify or whatever. But yeah, you can just kind of search me up, hit me up, and send me a message. It's really easy to do. Would love to share more stories, and yeah, it's a beautiful thing. So until next episode, this has been Dana and Ted, and I believe it's episode 11, and you'll hear from us hopefully very soon.